Tuesday, May 30th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. First up, we're going to chat with Chief of Police Paul McDonald. Then we'll share our in-depth coverage of the recent intergenerational Memorial Day breakfast that was held at the Barnstable Senior Center. And finally, we'll chat with DPW Director Dan Santos. All of that on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. A local 3-year-old gets an experience of a lifetime. That's thanks to the Hyannis Fire Department. Isaac, who is suffering from childhood leukemia, got to be a firefighter of the day over the weekend. Isaac showed up ready to go in his uniform for the big day. A big thanks to the Hyannis Fire Department for giving Isaac such a special day. And of course, thanks to photographer Jason Peterson for capturing all that happened throughout the day. What a heartwarming story. The Barnstable Police Department and the Barnstable Youth Commission helped 2 local charities with donations. Following a recent seizure of illegally procured items, Barnstable Police Chief Paul McDonald reached out to the Barnstable Youth Commission for help in the distribution of about $40,000 worth of various convenience store items. The Youth Commission decided that babies, youth, and women would benefit most from the items. They chose a baby center and Angel House as the beneficiaries. Summer is just around the corner. You can pick up your beach parking permit at the Hyannis Youth and Community Center. Beach parking permits can be purchased from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Saturday and 9 a.m. to noon on Sundays and holidays. Beach parking permits cost $40 per resident. Up next, we'll chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald. Joining me now live on the phone, Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. We get graced with your presence today, a surprise.
Well, I don't know if my wife would say you're graced with my presence, but I will take that as a compliment. Thank you very much. Well, great morning. Good morning to you.
We're glad to have you here today, and I want to talk about a really special event that happened over the weekend, Troops in the Spotlight. Tell me a little bit about this event, and of course, I think you had some Barnstable police officers actually participating in the event over the weekend.
Yes, we did. We did have some officers that participated. As you know, the Troops in the Spotlight event is organized by Cape Cod Cares for the Troops, a wonderful organization that helps out active duty troops and veterans. The purpose of the event is to collect items to go into care packages to be sent to troops that are deployed overseas. Because, as you know, when you're far away from home and you're dealing with those events, it means a lot to get something from certainly from loved ones, but it even means a lot more that people you don't even know are taking the time out of their day to reach out to you and support you and let you know that people are thinking about you back home.
Yeah, so special and so important. I think I can't imagine what they must experience while being overseas.
Yeah, I can't imagine myself. But what happened was this year we have an officer here, Josh Maloney, over numerous years, we've participated a little bit in this event as far as supporting it and helping it out. And we usually do a drive-by every year. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, we get a group of officers from around the Cape to drive by and show support. But Officer Maloney is also, he's a veteran, he's a military veteran, but he's also currently in the reserves, and he's been involved heavily in this event the last few years, and he's actually stood up on the platform at attention in the past in his Army uniform. And he had the thought occur to him that there's numerous veterans, including myself here, that work at the police department, and he asked if it would be possible for some of those veterans to participate and help this event out by standing up on the platform as well. And it hadn't really been done before, but they fully embraced the idea and really wanted to do it. So on Sunday, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., a group of 7 Barnstable police officers stood on the platform at attention along Route 132 in support of the troops and the mission that Cape Cod Cares for the Troops is performing for them.
Wow, it's so poignant, I think, when you're driving by over the weekend, seeing individuals standing at attention. How long is a shift for these individuals to stand on the platform?
We stood up there it's a 1-hour shift. We stood up there from 5 to 6 at attention.
That's a long time.
It sounds like an awful long time to do anything at attention, but the time really kind of flew by. And what made it fly by, they play music, and there's events going on, but the troops face out towards 132. They don't face the crowd behind them where they have all these events and stuff going on, but you face out towards Route 132. And when you're walking up on that platform and marching up on there and relieving somebody, your thoughts are, how am I, getting through this, standing out there. But as you're up there, it's really awesome to see the amount of people that drive by on Route 132 that honk and wave and stop and, come by and take pictures and are so supportive of this event and the people that are doing it. It's just incredible to see the support in the community. It really is. So
meaningful, and I know such a great experience. How long do you know how long Troops in the Spotlight has gone on? Quite a while, I think.
It's been going on for several years. I don't know the number of years exactly the Troops in the Spotlight, but I know Cape Cod Cares for the Troops has done a variety of events. I know I've participated in a run that they do along the Cape Cod Canal, but obviously the Troops in the Spotlight is kind of like their marquee event. It draws in the most attention. But they do, if you go to their website, CapeCodCaresForTheTroops.com, they do offer a variety of different events throughout the year and different ways that people can help out the organization and reach out to people overseas and veterans in our community.
Wow, such a great organization. We'll have to check out that website. So cool that the Barnstable Police Department got to participate as they have in the past. Very exciting to see that. Want to ask you too, there was a tragic accident over the weekend. Want to touch on it? I know you probably can't say too much because it is under investigation. What can you tell me about the incident with the pedestrian being struck over the weekend?
Obviously it was a terrible tragedy. I don't think anybody starts their day thinking that they're going to be involved in something like that. And the people, all of us here at the police department are just, we're all in shock about it. And our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone that's involved in this. It's a terrible event on all aspects. There's nothing positive about it, and it's terrible. Right now we are investigating it, but as you know, it's out there. The information is pretty much out there. The officer was responding to a call at about 2 o'clock in the morning over the weekend, and was along Route 28 with his lights and sirens on, and another vehicle pulled over, and for some reason there was a pedestrian in the roadway that the officer struck. Just terrible. I really have no words for it, but I do know. But we are investigating it in conjunction with the state police, and we just ask that we be given some time to find out exactly what happened and get the full story.
All right. Well, thank you for that information. We really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us on the show, and look forward to chatting with you again in the future. We just don't know when you're going to pop up here on the show. But we love it when you do.
I really enjoy it. You guys do a great job, and thanks for allowing me to be on your show.
Awesome. Thank you. We'll chat with you again in the near future.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Our guest today, Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. Up next, the Barnstable Senior Center hosted its annual Intergenerational Memorial Day breakfast last week. Here's a look at the very moving event. Barnstable High School students get a lesson in history thanks to Barnstable veterans. The Barnstable Senior Center hosted its annual Intergenerational Memorial Day breakfast Thursday morning. Veteran Service Officer Scott Dutra welcomed the group and encouraged the students to engage the veterans in attendance.
I think I say this every year, but the experiences, the stories that you're going to hear, just the different things that have happened with these individuals, with these veterans. You're not ever going to get these from a history class. You're never going to get these there are no books. It's something that they lived, and so they're going to kind of impart some of this information to you and just soak it in. Ask questions. If you have questions for them, feel free to ask them. They're here to just kind of bond with you, because too many times a lot of the veteran community just kind of gets old and passes away, and nobody ever knows whatever happened with them. There's so many families that don't even know what happened with their granddad or their father or anyone like that, because they experienced something overseas, possibly in a war zone, that they just didn't want to talk about. And these individuals are here today because they want to pass on some of that knowledge to you, some of that world experience that they've had.
And the veterans were more than willing to talk with the students. They shared their experiences and talked about what the event meant to them.
I'm a retired Marine, and I spent a career in the Marine Corps. And every time I have an opportunity to visit with veterans organizations, I just joined the VFW and also the Marine Corps League here in Barnstable. And every time I get an opportunity to speak with veterans, I take great pride in that. Not only because I spent 37 years in the Marine Corps, but because, as I told these students in this gathering here, these veterans are the legacy that we live up to. These veterans collectively are heroes from every organization that they belong to and every campaign or war that they fought in. And for these young people, the freedoms and opportunities that we're blessed with in this country as Americans are provided to us by the service of these prior veterans. And so, I joined the Marine Corps in 1976. So every one of these veterans that I get to talk to, I thank them for the legacy that they established that I've had to live up to. And the Marine Corps prides itself on its history and teaches every recruit from the very beginning, this is the history of the Marine Corps, these are the heroes of the Marine Corps, and these are the notable leaders of the Marine Corps. And so it's incumbent upon all of us to recognize who has gone before us and to allow these students to hear that and to know what happened to their grandfather or their father or their uncles, aunts. I think is important. So I'm passionate about veterans organizations and what they've done for us in America.
I enlisted for 3 years, and I went to school at Fort Devens, Air, Massachusetts, and I was stationed in Heidelberg, Germany for a couple of years, and I finished up my tour at Fort Benning, Georgia, and this was all the time when John Kennedy was president. He was my boss, Commander-in-Chief, and unfortunately I was still in the Army when he was assassinated, and I shall never forget that.
I like to have people sort of question me and ask me questions rather than my lecturing to them at random about what they should do or how they should live their lives. The only thing I would say, be honest, be considerate, and do what you like. If you don't like it, it's not going to work, because you're going to be unhappy, you're going to make everybody else unhappy, and you're really not going to make a good living if you don't like it. So with the combination of doing what you like to do and preparing yourself for it, I think it'll come out okay.
The group that we had at the table that I was fortunate to sit at, lots of engaging questions by the students, interesting perspectives. We had a veteran from Vietnam, myself from 1976 forward, so I'm a Cold War and Persian Gulf veteran. We had a World War II veteran and a Korean veteran. So they had a pretty good span of history from our veterans' perspective. And then I'm kind of a history buff, so I tied in a few of the other periphery stories about what was going on in the war, what our national policy was at the time during some of the stories that these other veterans spoke of. So they can piece together rather than just, well, I happen to be in this country and this is what happened to me. They were in this country for this particular reason, et cetera, et cetera. So it was fun. We had the three students that we had were very, very engaging and asked lots of nice questions and were absolutely respectful to the veterans, which you would expect. But it was wonderful. It was a good experience.
And the breakfast was a great experience for the students as well, getting an inside look at what it means to serve our country and learning a lot about our history. And joining me now live on the phone, we have DPW Director Dan Santos. Dan, you guys are actually working on a project at Stewart's Creek. What can you tell me about this?
Well, this has been an ongoing project for the last 3 or 4 years where the Army Corps of Engineers paid to install a new culvert under Ocean Street where it crosses over to Hyannisport. And the purpose of that was to allow more water from the sea to, flush in and flush out. One of the problems with our estuaries on the Cape is where we've closed off these open bodies of water that historically just, were very tidal. They've restricted them, and what happens is they get an overabundance of fresh water coming down because usually there's a stream or river or something that's feeding this. And then it kind of destroys the saltwater habitat, and that's happened over decades on the Cape. And so slowly we're trying to return these more to their natural condition by letting more water pass through.
Interesting. I think I now have a really good understanding of what's happening at Stewart's Creek. I don't know that anyone had explained it to me that way before. So where is the project now? I know there had been some work done. The Army Corps came back out, I think, to help that project. Where are we now?
Well, what's happened since the culvert went in is it takes a long time to regenerate kind of that salt freshwater interface environment, and the residents that lived there were concerned that it smelled bad and the Phragmites didn't seem to be dying back, and it didn't seem to be coming back the way that the Army Corps predicted that it would. So a group of those citizens got together. They have a small committee, and they've made some recommendations to us to try, and we've run them by our consultant to make sure that we're not going to harm anything. And one of the recommendations was to, at a high tide, which we had last Friday, moon high tide, close the gate, because we have the ability to close that off totally. So we let the high tide come in, close the gate, and let the salt water inundate the Phragmites. And those are the huge reed-type grasses that obliterate the view, and they're really an invasive. And the feeling was maybe if the salt water gets to the roots, that would kill them off because they're a freshwater plant. So they did that over the weekend, and it looks like the culvert was leaking or some of the water was bypassing. So we're really right in the middle of this. So I've got crews down there this morning trying to see what's going on. Perhaps there's a blockage in the culvert that's not allowing it to close right. But so not only are we doing that work, we're also going to be planting some appropriate plantings for the marsh grasses, basically, to get them established. Again, all is trying to bring this back to more of a estuary type environment rather than just kind of the freshwater environment that was choking all the native plants for a long, long time. So it's a work in progress, and it will take some number of years to regenerate, but we'll keep working at it and working with the local citizens because obviously they live there, they abut this, and they want to see it succeed. So.
Yeah, so such an important project, and interesting to hear that you guys are keeping such a close eye on it as it keeps progressing and looking at it from all different angles, trying lots of different options. So we'll have to check back in with you and see how all of these actions are playing out.
Yeah, that'd be great. Another project we just finished up is out at the Burgess Barn, Burgess House, the Marston Mills Civic Association there, where they have their where they meet and they operate that facility. Over the last few years, we've been utilizing CPC funds to renovate the exterior of the house and the barn itself, which was falling down. It's a very historic property. We've now done structural repairs. It's had new siding, windows, new roof, and this week we'll be pouring a new concrete slab in there. And it just looks fantastic. If anyone's driving by on Route 149 and wonders what's going on, that's what that is. And also, we've taken down some enormous hedges behind the Burgess house that have been there for probably since the 1940s, and they really got completely out of control. They were like 12 feet high and 6 feet deep, and they asked us to cut those back, and it's made really a vista view from the home, and we're doing some more selective plantings there. So it's a great looking facility, and I think all of Barnstable can be proud of it.
Yeah, so important to keep those buildings, keep them up to date, keep them preserved, because once you lose one of those historic buildings, that's pretty much it. You can't get it back.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Dan, for joining us today,
Sure.
telling us everything we need to know about what's happening in Stewart's Creek, as well as some updates on projects around town. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, look forward to chatting with you again next week.
Me too.
All right, bye-bye. My guest today, DPW Director Dan Santos. Now, for a special treat, we're going to take a look at the Barnstable Youth Commission's recent trip to Boston. The Barnstable Youth Commission gets a lesson in state government during a recent trip to Beacon Hill. The group was able to tour the State House and to meet with State Representative Will Crocker, State Representative Randy Hunt, and State Senator Julian Sear. The youth commissioners spoke passionately about issues they are most concerned with, including the opiate epidemic, teen dating violence, and seasonal jobs.
So we wanted a chance to move forward and try to bring our issues to that wider stage. I think it was great to go through a lot of these discussions and see some of the reception and interest. And I'm hoping that we can try to forge those larger relationships at the state level so our programs can become more well-known and easier to push forward.
All these politicians, legislatures, and see what they have to say about us and what we're doing, and then get some insight from them about how we could more effectively put forward what we're trying to do.
I think it was really enlightening to be able to see the democratic process really played out and a little bit of American politics, how it really works, because working at the local level in local government is a lot more simple than working at a government as big as one here, or as you move on as big as one that like the big U.S. Senate. And I enjoyed it. I thought we got a lot out of today, and I think the connections we made are going to serve us.
There's just a lot of networking. It's always good to be networking and meeting new people and knowing what's going on in the state level and what you can do on the state level to help your community.
I got some really good advice, especially coming out of our meeting with Representative Hunt, kind of figuring out who to go to at the education level. I don't think that's something we've explored, and I think, I won't be here. Hopefully whoever succeeds me and others will be able to look into those venues for reaching out to the state education department and maybe coming up with some sort of curriculum. Getting to see the Youth Commission talking and engaging and having these important conversations with the people that are really in positions to affect the change, even more so than ourselves, is a great opportunity and a great chance to bring the issues of the youth to the state level.
Armed with some great advice from our state lawmakers, we know the Youth Commission will continue working to address issues of concern for the youth of Barnstable. What a special trip for those students. Now let's find out what's happening around town in today's community calendar. You can learn more about pirates and the wreck of the Witta this Friday. Barry Clifford will tell tales of Black Sam Bellamy and the salvaging of his ship, the Witta, which wrecked in 1717. The talk will be held this Friday, June 2nd at 7 at the 1717 Meeting House in West Barnstable. Suggested donations are $15 per person and $10 for 1717 Foundation members. You can visit 1717meetinghouse.org for more information. The Barnstable Intermediate School is hosting a 5K Friday, June 9th. The event will raise money for the Barnstable Intermediate School Parent-Teacher Association. Participants pay just $20 to register for the race. All participants will get a t-shirt and may even win some prizes. The race will start and end near the Barnstable High School track Friday, June 9th. The race begins at 6 p.m. Today, the Conservation Commission is going to meet at 6:30 in the Town Hall hearing room. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. On tomorrow's show, we'll chat with Economic Development Specialist Mike Travato for our Business Barnstable segment. We'll check in with Director of Regulatory Services Richard Scally and so much more. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.